Our last story is about $218,000. That's how much a man in Spain will have to pay his ex-wife. But that's not the interesting part. Why has he been ordered to pay her this sum? It's because of the unpaid labor she did as household work. When the court ruled in her favor, she said it was very well deserved. Very well deserved. Think about it. $200,000 is a lot of money, but it's also a lot of housework, 25 years of it, and it's something that would have otherwise gone unpaid. For context, the amount is based on minimum wage throughout their marriage. She took care of the home and family, she wasn't allowed to work outside, and they have something called the separation of property regime, which means whatever they each earned was theirs alone. So she had no access to wealth whatsoever. And this is not an isolated case. Last year, a Chinese court awarded a woman $4,500 as housework compensation. In another case, a woman had to pay $1,500 to her ex-husband for the same. Monetary compensation for unpaid labor is practically unheard of. It's shocking for most of us. What is unpaid labor? It is the time spent doing routine housework. It can be shopping for grocery, childcare, tending to the elderly, essentially all unpaid activities related to household maintenance. Most of us refer to them as simply helping around the house. After all, someone has to do it. But do you know who that someone usually is? The woman of the house. Women do 76% of unpaid care work globally. On average, women spend about 5 hours a day on unpaid housework, while men get to spend about 1 hour. The pandemic made it worse. Women were the main providers of childcare when schools were closed. What did this mean for working mothers? They were twice as likely as men to reduce their working hours. Women also lost ground in paid employment. Sectors that disproportionately employ women, like retail and hospitality, were the hardest hit. In the US, unemployment rate for women is now 3% higher than men. And in Britain, more mothers lost their jobs than fathers. Even though globally more women have gone out to work over time, they continue to do what is called the second shift. You know, the chores that they do after a work day, that is the second shift. Things like cleaning the house, taking care of children. And these activities have real economic value. But women have been doing it for free. In 2019, if women earned minimum wage for their unpaid work, they would have earned about $11 trillion. Let that sink in, $11 trillion. This is more money than what the 50 biggest companies together made that year. But this remains largely invisible to economists. After all, it is not part of GDP calculations. It is not factored in measures of economic growth. It is also difficult to value because the normal market signals of supply and demand do not apply here. But the economic value of it is alive and well. I'll give you an example. This is from 1975. 90% of Icelandic women refused to cook. They refused to clean. They did not take care of children. And all of this just for one day. Do you know what happened next? The whole nation was brought to a standstill. Men across the country scrambled to fill in. This showed the subsidy women provide to the smooth functioning of our economies. And we're not saying we need to bring our countries or our homes to a standstill. The point of this story is to make all of us think, rethink how we calculate the value of housework, both in terms of gratitude and money. Introducing more policies around this can help, like parental leave and subsidized daycare, also perhaps a universal basic income. It could recognize the value of essential unpaid work. Even if one is not part of the so-called paid economy, and laws help too, like the one in China where one has a legal right to seek compensation for unpaid work. You see, there are solutions. The quiet cost of unpaid work is screaming. All we have to do is pay attention. Think about it.